And the story we want to discuss today is one of great importance as far as national security goes. Is India's demography changing? And if the answer to that is yes, then is that change organic or is it due to influx of illegals? Well, the latest to raise an alarm about this is the Vice President of our country. Jagdeep Dhankar said that there is a growing threat of demographic disorder in this country. He said that the consequences of the disorder would be no less than that of a nuclear bomb. According to him, this demographic dislocation is turning certain regions into political fortresses where elections have no real meaning. He added that it was alarming to see how some areas had been affected by the strategic shift, turning them into impenetrable strongholds where democracy loses its essence. Now, this is not the first instance where such a remark has been made. A few months ago, Assam Chief Minister Himanta Biswa Sarma alleged that Assam's rapidly rising Muslim population poses an existential threat to the culture of the indigenous Assamese. Union Home Minister Amit Shah has claimed conspiracy to change the demography of several states in this country, like that of Manipur and Jharkhand, where infiltration is being aided and abetted. The opposition has scoffed at these remarks every time they've come to the fore. But can these concerns be brushed aside altogether? Let me put forth some facts. A 2021 report by Pew Research Center points to changes in demography in states across India, particularly highlighting 3 states of concern. Now, all of this data is from 2001 or to 2011, which was when the last census was conducted. Let's start with the state of West Bengal. The Hindu share decreased by 2 percentage points to 71%. Muslim share increased by 2% to 27%. Muslims experienced their biggest change in the northeast in the state of Assam. There was a growth of 3% in their population, directly correlated to the subtraction of 3% from the Hindu population. In another state in that belt that's close to those 2 states is Uttarakhand. Hindu share decreased by 2 percentage points in that state as well. It now stands at 83% is what this research report claimed, while the Muslim share increased by 2 points to 14%. Now, when it comes to Jharkhand, there is a PIL that's being heard in the state High Court. It seeks an investigation on intrusion by Bangladeshis illegals and changing demography, specifically in the Santhal Pargana area. Now, data that's based on census reports from 1951 and 2001 show that the population of tribals in this particular region was 44.6% in 1951. Muslims were at 9.4% and others were at 45.9%, close to 46%. But in 2011, when the last census was conducted, the population of tribals in the Santhal Pargana region of Jharkhand decreased to 28%. From 44.6, it comes down to 28%. The Muslim population increases from 9.4 to 22.7%. And others increased by a little over 4 percentage points. Now, increase in minority population seems to be a trend in India as far as Southeast Asia is concerned. I say that because a working paper published by the Economic Advisory Council to the Prime Minister earlier this year had said that India had witnessed a reduction in the share of majority population by 7.8%. The time frame that they were looking at was from 1950 to 2015, with the share of Muslim population rising by 43.15% during that same period. Now, the decline in majority population is only next to Myanmar in our neighborhood, which witnessed a 10% decline among the 167 countries that this think tank analyzed. The report was meant to highlight that minorities are not just protected in India, but they are actually thriving. But those statistics also put forth some other pertinent questions. Are these minorities Indian citizens who are thriving, or are they illegals that are being patronized by political actors irrespective of the political ideology for their own benefit? Which is why we bring the focus back to what Vice President Jagdeep Dhankar said today. If this really is a ticking bomb that has consequences no less than that of a nuclear bomb, is that threat real or is this just political rhetoric? We open that up.
Demographic earthquake, demographic disorder is no less severe in consequences than even a nuclear bomb.
तो हम समझते हैं कि झारखंड के चुनाव को प्रभावित करने की भारतीय जनता पार्टी की एक कोशिश है।
हमारे बॉर्डर की जो निगरानी हो रही है वो सही ढंग से नहीं हो रही और इसके लिए केंद्र सरकार जिम्मेदार है।
देखो ये चिंतनीय है और लगातार हम सब आवाज उठाते रहे, एक गंभीर समस्या है।
Let's open this up. Arshpreet Karyal, spokesperson of the Congress, Charu Pragya, spokesperson of the BJP, Atikur Rahman, Islamic scholar, and Deshratan Nigam, advocate, joins us. Arshpreet Karyal, let me begin by asking you. You know, this is a kind of concern that has been raised by several state governments with borders, specifically with Bangladesh. This is a concern that has been raised by Union Home Minister Amit Shah in context to Jharkhand and Manipur as well. And now the Vice President also sounding an alarm. Do you think this changing demography, the influx of illegals, is a real threat? I believe you're on mute, sir. If you could just unmute yourself, please. We'll try and reconnect that audio with Arshpreet Karyal. We seem to not get that audio link with him. But Atikur Rahman, let me get you in on that. Is this a real threat or not? Is demography changing in India? And if it is, then should it be at least looked into the causes of why that's happening?
Well, Poonam, since I am not an expert on this particular issue of demographic changes in India, I can just tell you that the political stage in India since the last 99 years of the RSS, they are telling the Hindus that the Muslims will be taking you over, and there will be a time wherein there will be a Muslim prime minister and a Muslim ruler, and the Muslims will come back and rule over you. So this threat to the Hindu population has been posed by the RSS since 99 years. Next year they will be completing their 100 years. Now, if the Prime Minister and the Vice President, the Home Minister of India is also talking on the same lines, I would like to know what exactly are the figures of the infiltrators, the migrated population from other countries, bordering areas, and is it a real threat telling that the Muslims in India, the citizens of the India being Muslims, they are trying, and they are trying, deliberately to take over the Hindus. In this regard, Dr. Rafiq Zakaria had written a book in the 1990s wherein he had said that even after 365 years, the Muslims of India will never be able to take over the Hindu population, and there will be a Muslim rule in India. So the Vice President and the Prime Minister should come clean what exactly they mean by it. And even if the Muslims will be taking over the Hindu population and there will be a Muslim
I don't know
Prime
who's
Minister,
saying Muslim population will take over Hindu population, and that's a concern. In your recent memory, sir, can you tell me any comments specifically made in your recent memory by any RSS leader, any political party leader from any spectrum?
No, Poonam, why recent? Is it not true that the inception of the RSS was on
because
the same
we're talking
ground?
about what's happening now. We're not talking about what happened historically, which is why I'm asking you in recent memory, when you say that RSS has been propagating this, that Muslims are going to overtake the Hindu population and there's going to be a Muslim ruler and that cannot happen. Where is this coming from is what I'm trying to ask you.
No, Deshratan will tell you that RSS has primarily told the Hindu population that if you are not making yourself aware, the Muslims will be taking over you. If I am wrong, Deshratan can correct me.
But in your recent memory, no political party leader or an RSS member that you can quote has said this in as many words. Is that what you're saying? But this has been the general narrative of the RSS, is the allegation you're making.
Now they have changed their colors since they have their own people in the executive. Now what the RSS says that the DNA of all are same. So if the DNA is same, then why not the Muslim Prime Minister? He should not be averse to the idea of a Muslim Prime Minister. If an Indian Muslim becomes a Prime Minister or a Chief Minister, what is the fuss about?
There is no fuss about it. Who has a problem with that?
Let them go.
Who has said they have a problem with it?
So you're just completely derailing the debate. Can I come in, Poonam?
Charu Pragya, I'll get you in.
Why are you focused
just a second.
on
Charu
the
Pragya,
issue
just a
that
second.
we're discussing?
But which is why I kept asking Atikur Rahman in recent memory, because that's what we're discussing. I don't think there is a problem with a Muslim political leader becoming the chief minister or even the prime minister of this country. If the population growth of Muslims is organic, there's absolutely not a problem. That's not what is being spoken of here.
Very
Let
good,
me
then it is
let me make that clear first. But Arshpreet Kadyal, before we lost that line with you, many within the opposition believe that this is just a political rhetoric that now even the vice president is speaking of. That this is not true, that there is no demographic change, even though there are stats to back it up.
Thank you for the question. First and foremost, a senior leader of the Bharatiya Janata Party, known by the name of Kailash Vijay Varghya, he said, given the demography changing, you people will not be able to live. Think about it. And he said a civil war could erupt in the next 30 years. And this statement coming from a senior BJP leader goes on to suggest that the Bharatiya Janata Party is on to divide and rule. And this is very much against what the Bharatiya Janata Party's leaders say. They say in 3 decades, India would be a developed country. And a senior leader of the Bharatiya Janata Party is contradicting their high command, their senior leadership, by saying that there would be a civil war because of the demography changing. My question to the Bharatiya Janata Party is, what action has been taken against a senior leader and a minister if you do not agree with him? And if you do not agree with him, the Bharatiya Janata Party spokesperson should clarify, because a senior leader of the Bharatiya Janata Party also said घुसपैठिए घुसे हुए हैं जिनके बच्चे ज़्यादा होते हैं when they were campaigning for the Lok Sabha elections. We all remember that. The British is gone, but the Bharatiya Janata Party is still here, and they are trying to divide and rule. And I want to know from the BJP, what is your stand on this?
And Charu Pragya will respond to that, but you're not answering my question. Is this a real threat? Is this a situation that India needs to handle or not? That there is an influx of illegals coming into our states, which is why there is demographic changes that are being seen, Jharkhand being an example.
Now, there are 2 things to that, Poonam. Number one, why are the BJP leaders like Mr. Vijay Varghya not being specific? Why are the BJP leaders not specifying which people are they talking about? Who do they exactly refer to when it comes to the demographic change? And when the VP was giving an example of so many countries have now become this and this, we would really want a little clarification on that as to which countries was he referring to. If the BJP spokesperson would want to shed light upon that, we would really want to hear it. Which countries was Mr. Dhankar referring to? And before that, the BJP leaders, the statements that they made. We want to have clarity on that as to what the BJP stand is, because BJP is accustomed to having double standards. They blow hot and cold at the same time. And today, they will not be allowed to get away with it. They need to either condemn
Sure, I'll let Charu Pragya answer and respond to you, but you still haven't answered my question. Does the Congress believe this is a threat or not? The yes or no question.
No, but that's what I'm saying. No. One second.
What the BJP does and whether they blow hot and cold, let Charu Pragya answer on that. But my question to you was very specific.
No, I have understood a question, Poonam. What I'm saying is that they say demographic change is a problem.
He's understood, but he chooses not to answer it. He doesn't have an answer to that.
It seems like it, because you're trying to go around in circles and shift the blame to the BJP while the BJP can defend that. Charu Pragya, the allegation from Arshpreet Kadyal. 30 seconds. 30 seconds, Arshpreet.
So what I'm saying is that I answered your question very specifically. That the BJP says demographic change is a problem. But what demographic change are you referring to? Which all people are you referring to? Facts to do, stats to do, data to do. You are in the center government and you have referred to no data. There is no specific information or knowledge. And you say...
Charu Pragya, the allegation against the BJP is that it's a shoot and scoot sort of a situation where you make comments to try and whip up a certain sentiment, but they are not backed by facts. That's the allegation the opposition makes against the BJP.
So, I'm sorry that the Congress has double standards over every single thing, but let me begin by stating facts and only facts. In 2004, then UPA Home Minister Jaiswal ji made a statement in Parliament This was on July 14, 2004. He said there were over 1.2 crore illegal Bangladeshi infiltrators living in different parts of the country. I am talking about 2004 here, 20 years ago. 20 years ago, the estimation by Ashpreet's own government was over 1.2 crore. This was said on the floor of the House in Parliament. That's one thing. The second thing is Mamata Banerjee herself, over decades, has maintained that the situation in West Bengal, because of illegal infiltrants, has made a situation which became a poll issue when she was contesting. Back when left used to be in power and Mamata Didi was not what she has become today. She in fact gave in her resignation in Parliament on this exact issue, saying I have failed because I have not been able to stop this illegal immigration.
Ashpreet Kadia, let her finish, please. I'll give you your time, let her finish.
Ashpreet, I did not interrupt you.
Let her finish, please. I'll come back to your rebuttal. Charu Pragya, go ahead.
Facts, figures, dates and numbers to Ashpreet, it irks him because, like I said, I am speaking with facts, figures, dates and numbers. So Mamata Banerjee actually did that whole drama of saying there are illegal infiltrators coming into West Bengal and I have not been able to do anything because CPIM supports them. Here I am giving my resignation. She took it back later, and later on she became what the left used to be once upon a time, and the same amount of illegal infiltration has continued in West Bengal. Let me tell you more. A TMC leader just before 2024 Lok Sabha elections clearly said everybody who's coming in from Bangladesh, if they need their name on the electoral roll of India, we are going to help them get it, but be sure that they are not supporters of BJP. If they are TMC supporters, we will help them get it. Please check this. Mamata Didi was the one who did not allow BSF to set up checkposts within 50 kilometers of Indian territory. You know why? Because they run an entire nexus which controls the comings and goings of illegal infiltrators. Now that is a fact. Recently, आप कर्नाटका में अपनी सरकार चलाते हैं, आपको कर्नाटका की कहानी बताते हैं. There is nothing that they actually know and they act on. And again, allow me to
Ashpreet, let her finish, please. I'll give you your time. There's enough time to go around. Please let her finish.
I don't debate like this.
Ashpreet Kadia, please. It's a request I'm making to you.
I have not been on a debate with you for months now, and I have made it a point.
Well, I asked you a specific question that you went around in circles as well. So let her finish, please. I will give you your time. You can counter every single thing she says with what you have to say. I will give you your time. Let her finish, please. Let's try and keep this civil. Let's try and keep this civil. Let's not heckle anybody, please.
He's the most infuriating and most interrupting.
Ashpreet Kadia, please, I request you to not heckle anyone. And this is a request to all my panelists. Charu Pragya, go ahead, please.
Please put a fader on him.
Go ahead, Charu Pragya, make your point.
But Poonam, this is not done. Repeatedly, he is
I've asked him to not interrupt you, Charu Pragya.
Things to you.
Yes, go ahead.
One question.
And if he does,
please, Ashpreet Kadyal, this can't go on. Ashpreet Kadyal, please.
Ashpreet, what is your problem, yaar?
I'm making a request to you, Ashpreet Kadyal. If you can't do that, I will have to put your fader down.
I am not answerable.
This is the last time that I'm making a request to you, please.
Do not interrupt me.
Charu Pragya, go ahead.
I'll tell you, Poonam, what this man is doing. He wants to waste the time of the entire debate so that real issues are not being discussed. I'll tell you what are the real issues. 8 Bangladeshis were held for living in Karnataka with fake documents. The SPO of Udupi, Arun Kumarji, in fact, caught them at the immigration because they were trying to fly to Dubai with a fake passport. What is Congress doing with any of this? The demography is changing in Jharkhand, in Assam, in West Bengal repeatedly with the help of Congress. Congress is well aware of this. In fact, I can quote you situations where people have been caught in Maharashtra with fake Aadhaar cards actually trying to go out and vote, and who did they turn out to be? They were Bangladeshis. In Tripura, repeatedly in Agartala, the police has caught infiltrators who come here, who form a nexus with people living here with political connections, with people who were powerful in the UPA regime. They create these fake documents and then they go on and live here for a long period of time till they can naturalize themselves. So that situation is what has been created by the Congress party, and if you will allow me, I can quote 20 such cases to you. 20 such cases. And let me start. I can begin now. May I? At least 4-5 to meko quote karne.
But Charu Pragya, the allegation
Shakir
against...
Haider illegally entered India, lived in Mumbai.
Sure. There are lots of instances to quote, but the allegation against the BJP is that you've been in power at the center. if indeed this is because of illegal migration and illegal immigrants coming into India, then what has the central government done to stop it?
So let me tell you what the central government did. We changed the rules for BSF and we said that now BSF is going to be guarding 50 kilometers of territory inside India. 50 kilometers. It happened all over the country. You know which state did not allow this to happen? It was the state of West Bengal. Our motion was actually passed in the legislature there under Mamata Banerjee, which said that we will not allow this to happen because this is a situation which has been created only to trouble our citizens. Mamata Banerjee went so far ahead as to write a letter to Prime Minister Modi stating exactly this. None of this was allowed to happen. I am telling you names and instances of MLAs who have said अगर TMC के supporter है उनको आने दो भारत में, हम उनका नाम वोटर लिस्ट पे ऐड करवा देते हैं. There are TMC leaders who are saying कि यहाँ की demography तो अब ऐसी है, यहाँ पर Sharia law चलेगा. People are being beaten up in the streets. Does Harshpreet even raise his voice for any of these concerns, or is he an Indian only for convenience sake? And is his politics so cheap and so selfish that you can't even raise your voice for your nation? That's the situation. What the Vice President has said today is absolutely true. The problem is this demography is changing not just in Assam or West Bengal or Jharkhand. This is
And Harshpreet Kadyal, you may say that the BJP is not doing enough. Fair enough, you're allowed to have that criticism of yourself. But when you're talking about West Bengal, one of your own allies, Hemant Soren, very recently came out and said that we don't have a demography change issue, but look at West Bengal. And the figures will speak for themselves. Which means that somebody, even within the India bloc, agrees that this is a problem.
Poonam, kindly allow me uninterrupted.
Yes, go ahead. Yes, go ahead.
Now, number one,
No,
the amount of time now the amount
okay, Charu Pragya, now I asked him not to do that to you, please. I request the same. I request you to do the same, please.
They are accustomed to this. The Bharatiya Janata Party is used to this. That is what their expertise is.
It doesn't help the cause of this show. It definitely doesn't put across your point. And I request, this is a request to everybody on this panel. Please, let's not heckle anybody. I made the same request to Harshpreet Kadyal thrice. Charu Pragya, please.
Yes, but I did it.
She will judge the Bharatiya Janata Party is not used
point taken. Sure, point.
Not used to listening.
Okay, point taken. Charu Pragya, Harshpreet Kadyal. Okay, get to the point, please.
Now put her fader now. Now what I'm saying is,
I requested you thrice, Mr. Kadyal. Now please go ahead.
No, I'll tell you what. Number one, the Bharatiya Janata Party's expertise is to do this after speaking for 5 minutes and not answering one question that was asked about their own leader. The Bharatiya Janata Party spokesperson spoke of everything under the sun, but did not specify as to what their stand is on Vijay Vargya's statement. Why do you have to run away from your own leader's statement? Either condemn it or support it.
Because we're not discussing Vijay Vargya's statement, Harshpreet Kadyal.
Why not? It is on demographic change. It is on demographic change, right? That is what our topic is.
Sure.
If I have asked a question that
but I'm sorry, you're not the one asking the questions here. I am, and I asked you, your own ally, and your own ally.
We are not supposed to ask questions.
Sorry,
we are not supposed to ask questions.
I have asked you a question. I want an answer to that because Deshratan Nigam is also patiently waiting.
Well, what I'm saying is, first segment you asked me a question, I answered that my way. Nevertheless, I asked a question of the BJP, no answer was given. You didn't ask a question of the BJP.
I asked them a question that if illegal influx is an issue, then what is the central government doing about it? Because it is the central government's job.
Vijay Vargya's question, that is what is relevant. Because Vijay Vargya has said there would be a civil war in 30 years. Is there going to be a civil war? Is what I want to know from Bharatiya Janata Party, because they say it's going to be a developed country by the end of 3 decades. And their own leader is saying there's going to be a civil war. Their leader is saying, will you be able to live?
If you come to power, it will be worse than a civil war.
That is what the BJP knows.
Okay, I have very limited time on this. I asked you a question about this particular issue, whether or not West Bengal, Jharkhand, Assam, Manipur, all of these states have these issues of illegal influx or not. Harshpreet Kadyal, I have to get in Deshratan Nigam as well. 30 seconds is what I can give you if you can answer my question, please. Charu Pragya, just a second.
Thank you. I'll give an answer to that. Number one, let's see it for what it is. If the Bharatiya Janata Party is saying demographic change is a problem, why have they not dealt with it is the question. They have been in power for the last 10 years. If they say that there have been infiltrators, there have been these people coming in, what action have you taken against them? And if you're saying lakhs and crores of people have been coming in, that goes on to suggest that you've failed to protect the sovereignty. You have failed to safeguard the rights of our citizens, and other people from outside have been able to come and capture our rights. So the Bharatiya Janata Party has given a certificate of failure to themselves. What else do we need? And next, the Bharatiya Janata Party does not want to answer as to which all people are they talking about. Because some leaders talk of घुसपैठिए, some leaders say कि जिनके बच्चे ज्यादा होते हैं. I want to know from the Bharatiya Janata Party, who are these people that Mr. Modi was talking about back in the day?
Okay,
Please
so
specify.
this is just rhetoric, is what the opposition says. But Deshrata Nigam, Charupragya, just a second, please. I don't have enough time on this. I need to get in Deshrata Nigam. He's been patiently waiting for 20 minutes. Deshrata Nigam, thank you so much for patiently waiting. You've heard all that's gone around on this show, but I want to ask you this. When Jagdeep Dhankar said that it's not just about illegal influx, it's also hinting at political patronage, because he says that this particular shift is turning certain areas into impenetrable strongholds where democracy is losing its essence. What do you think he's alluding to? What exactly are we talking about?
Well, Poonam, let me make it very clear that when about RSS, that RSS talks about social harmony and keeping nation first. And it is irrespective of political parties and what they think. This applies across the board, whether they are Communist Party, BJP or the Congress. If anybody can keep the national interest supreme, then I don't think there is any problem. Yes, RSS was concerned since 99 years, and we did suffer a partition where 1/3 of the land went away, and the people, 98% people who voted for creation of Pakistan stayed back in India. And it is said it was by choice. First create Pakistan, and then by choice you stay back in India. Then Nehru Liaquat Pact took place when the population exchange was to take place, which stopped everything. Now what Mr. Dhankar was actually alluding was, there is a political patronage to a particular ideology which does not believe in diversity, which believes in uniformity and singular way of life, which means only Islamic law. And we have seen in certain parts of our country where the population, if it crosses a particular threshold, Hindu festivals are not allowed to be celebrated. Hindus cannot take out procession. They have to take permission from them. This is what we are talking about. Democracy and plurality and diversity has no meaning. This is what he was alluding to, where in democracy numbers matter, and therefore if numbers increase, the particular kind of people, appeasement, those who are appeasing a particular section of community, they get elected, and you have a different kind of a system in the electoral bodies. And this is where the strategic demographic changes that he was talking about. And if you have to preserve democracy and plurality in India, you have to have that balance, fine balance, where the philosophy of tolerance and acceptance has to be followed by everybody. And RSS, let me tell you, is never against any Muslim. A patriotic and nationalist Muslim is always welcome in this country. Anybody who's against this country or nation, the RSS will obviously oppose. And Mr. Atikur Rahman is a nationalist. We have never been against him. There are people, and if you see the illegal immigration, the taking place from Bangladesh side, let me tell you, there was a PIL in Delhi High Court in 2010, where the Congress government said on oath that there are 4.5 crores Bangladeshis, and they said it's a very conservative estimate. It was not even the actual truthful estimate. So these are the things that it has to be taken into account. The natural Indian Muslims, we have no problem. If they turn out to be anti-India, they can be dealt with under the laws of the country. Even if Hindus turn against or the communists turn against this nation, they are also dealt with according to the laws of the land. But illegal immigration, changing demographies of the areas and the border areas especially. And let me tell you, West Bengal government is creating problem in land acquisition so that the BSF posts can be brought near. Today they are far off. So that the West Bengal government has also to allow land acquisition where they are creating problems. So today what we have to see, and the political parties, including the Congress and others, have to understand, they have to align their policies to a concept called nation is first and supreme. Then everything will fall in place. Once you start appeasing, once you start standing with illegal immigrants, then we have a problem. Because they are the ones, and the statistics show they are involved in crime, they are involved in extremism, they are involved in terrorism. So this is also creating a serious national security problem and threat to this country.
Absolutely, the repercussions are far-reaching.
And therefore, please, Please rise above your narrow political concepts and think nation as supreme. And believe me, if Congress and all other parties, start thinking on those lines, there will not be a problem. You may have your differences, political differences on electoral field, but keep nation as supreme. And that is where we have the serious concern about this illegal immigration, forced conversion, induced conversion, or any kind of threatful conversion. So we have to maintain this fine balance, because we are the ones who believe in everybody's religion. There are religions who do not believe in our religion. But then, please, if you confine your religion to your personal self, we don't have any problem.
Absolutely. If there is demographic change and if it is happening organically, that is not an issue. If these are Indian Muslims, that is not a problem. I don't think anybody has a problem with that, like I said right at the start of the show. But if there is a threat of illegal migrants, of influx of that happening in the country, then that is a cause of concern, and at the very least that threat should be acknowledged and dealt with. Unfortunately, I'm completely out of time. I have to leave it at that. I thank you all for joining us here on this edition of Plain Speak. Time for a quick break, but on the other side, we'll get you details of what happened in Pakistan as External Affairs Minister S Jaishankar attended the Shanghai Cooperation Organization summit and sent out a stern message to both Pakistan and China.
At L'Oréal Group,
diplomatic tensions that are escalating. Now, as these diplomatic tensions continue to escalate, US State Department has now said that matter of Canada is serious, and what we expect India is to cooperate with the Canada. So these are the latest inputs that we're tracking from the ground, and we're getting a reaction from the United States, where it is expected out of India to cooperate with Canada on basis of these allegations. Now, remember, the diplomatic row between India and Canada has escalated following allegations from Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau that India may be involved in the assassination of a Canadian Sikh leader. Now, this accusation has led to mutual expulsion of diplomats and heightened tensions in both the countries, as both the nations grapple with issues related to national security, human rights and the diaspora. So these are the latest inputs that we are tracking from the ground at this point of time. Now, joining us on the broadcast is our colleague Akanksha. A very good morning, Akanksha. How can the United States actually justify its calls for cooperation when it has not directly addressed the serious implications of Canada's allegations against India also?
A very good morning to you, Kohina, and our viewers. And that is precisely also the point that India has been making, that, our requests for extradition, the kind of various gangsters over there, many of them also branded as terrorists. Apart from that, the anti-Hindu graffiti, the kind of defacing of Hindu temples that's taking place, the defacing of the idol of Mahatma Gandhi, all of these requests which have been made by the MEA for investigation by the Canadian authorities have in fact been left unheard. Now, what Matthew Miller, the spokesperson for the US State Department, has said is that they have made a very serious note of everything that's happening as far as the downgrading of the diplomatic ties between Ottawa and New Delhi is concerned. What is very surprising and misplaced is the comment that's come in that they wanted to see the government of India cooperate with Canada and its investigation, but India has chosen an alternate path. So the US State Department often makes remarks which are off the cuff. They are misplaced and lopsided even at the moment, because remember, the Ministry of External Affairs has been very vocal about how not even a shred of evidence has been provided with Canada, and that New Delhi is very much willing to cooperate, as it is already doing so in the investigation of the alleged Pannu murder plot, who is also a US citizen. Remember, this entire news of the downgrading of diplomatic ties arrived on a day when we've seen an inquiry committee from India traveling to the United States. In fact, an official has been arrested by India in this entire plot. So we all know that that action arrived soon after the US State Department spokespersons met earlier during this year, as far as Mr. Jake Sullivan and the NSA, Indian NSA, Mr. Ajit Doval is concerned, and soon after India has been taking up this entire inquiry. But having said that, that's not been the case with Canada. India has been very vocal that Canada ought to have followed up through diplomatic channels, something they in fact did by pressurizing the Indian High Commissioner and intensively engaging the High Commissioner over the last year. They choose to now target him, not even provide him adequate security, so much so that India has had to withdraw the High Commissioner along with other diplomats in Canada. That goes on to, in fact, indicate the kind of approach that Canada has taken. The RCMP in its press conference was very scant in the evidence. They were making accusations, but they had no solid, concrete evidence to back those claims up. Apart from that, we've also seen there's been a lot of there's a lot of chatter in the media, but there should have been proper diplomatic back channel talks, and secret information ought to be shared through bilateral channels and not publicly as Canada is doing. So I think it is Canada's approach which ought to be questioned, not India's.
Right, Akanksha, thank you so much for bringing in all those details. Well, US is clearly prioritizing the diplomatic relations over accountability. Let's hear out what the US State Department actually had to say.
The timing of those was completely coincidental. When it comes to the Canadian matter, we have made clear that the allegations are extremely serious and they need to be taken seriously, and we wanted to see.
Thank you for staying with us. After nearly a decade, External Affairs Minister of India has visited Pakistan. S Jaishankar travelled to Islamabad for the Shanghai Cooperation Organisation summit. He's concluded that visit. He's flying back to India as we speak. S Jaishankar became the first Indian External Affairs Minister, to visit Pakistan since 2015. His visit comes amid frosty ties between the two nations, and this was very evident when he and Pakistan's Prime Minister Shahbaz Sharif met. At the SCO summit, S Jaishankar delivered India's national statement. He sent out a stern warning not just to Pakistan in their own backyard, but also its fair weather ally China. Jaishankar reminded Pakistan of the three evils and stated that cross-border extremism, separatism and expansionist behavior hinders bilateral trade and relations, and in no way that is something that India will stand for. Prabhu, former Indian diplomat who served at the Indian consulate in Karachi, joins us on this broadcast. Kamarchima, strategic affairs expert, will be joining us shortly from Pakistan. Prabhu, the message is very clear. What Mr. S Jaishankar echoed, that's been India's stance for the last decade or so. Expansionism is not going to work. That's a message to China. And exposing Pakistan in its own backyard, because every single time India has made an olive branch offer or an overture, Pakistan has turned around and stabbed us in the back.
Well, frankly, India has repeatedly said to Pakistan that it wants to have a dialogue, but a dialogue cannot take place as long as Pakistan pursues the policy of sponsoring terrorist activities across the border. Now, let me mention that ever since Pakistan was routed in the 1971 war and lost its eastern part, which became Bangladesh, Pakistani generals have spoken about taking revenge and bleeding India by 1,000 cuts. Now, they know full well that India's economic and military strength is much greater and that there is no way Pakistan can win a war against India. Therefore, the Pakistani generals have based their strategy on carrying out covert warfare. They've tried to achieve this through terrorists who are trained by the Pakistan army and sent across the line of control to fight against Indian security forces. Simultaneously, there's an all-out effort by the Pakistan establishment to pass off these terrorists as indigenous Kashmiri freedom fighters. I don't think that Shahbaz Sharif can do anything that will go against the wishes of the generals. In other words, he cannot overturn this policy of sponsoring terrorist activities against India. For this reason, I don't see any end to terrorism from Pakistan, and for this reason, we can't have a normal relationship with that country.
Chima, several overtures made by the Indian side, several olive branches being shared over the years, but all of them have been betrayed by the Pakistani side because terror continues unabated. Even today, we had the External Affairs Minister point out that terrorism, extremism and separatism have no place, and if that continues, then ties cannot be normal. Specifically, trade and connectivity will be an issue between the two countries.
Well, I think definitely both the countries do understand that the terrorism is a challenge, and for this matter, Dr. Jaishankar did mention. But let me tell you that today there was an important day. First, Dr. Jaishankar did ask the Pakistani authorities that he wants to have a word with the Pakistani foreign minister on the lunch, for which special arrangements were made. And I think Dr. Jaishankar is a seasoned diplomat, and I think, in my understanding, somehow positive gestures have come from Pakistan and India, despite the fact we have huge differences between both the countries. We do not trust at all each other. But I think the way Dr. Jaishankar came, he was welcomed properly, he was treated properly, he was honored. And at the same time, the point which is important, which you are mentioning, terrorism. And I think now the time is that the G7 and the Five Eyes intelligence are asking India for promoting terrorism. You are talking about Pakistan, but the world is asking India that why you are sponsoring terrorist organization within Canada. So I think India's words do not match with the words and actions. It is the entire UN, the Americans are asking that send a team. So India sent a team in Washington to support and probe the terrorism incidents in America. So your words are good. Okay,
I don't think that terrorism acts as you claim them. Also, Canada making these allegations, they've done so for the last 1 year, and there has been no proof that Justin Trudeau or his administration has given. All he's doing is pandering to his political vote bank there, because he's trailing as far as his electoral battles in Canada go. He, as we speak, is going to be appearing or deposing before a foreign interference commission. So he's probably just trying to build a case for trying to save his seat there, because there is no proof, but there is proof of what Pakistan is doing in India. So I don't know how you say that these overtures are positive from both sides and both sides are working in the same sentiment, because Pakistan clearly is not.
Australia, United Kingdom, United States, Canada, all these countries have said one by one, just today and yesterday, that we are asking India to cooperate in terrorism related matters. This is what...
and all of these countries, the United Nations, the IMF, the FATF, they've all said the same thing against you. So if you take their word at what the allegations towards India are, then what they're saying about Pakistan must also be true, sir.
Pakistan was in a grey list before. Pakistan was in a grey list before. But remember, Pakistan is no more been sanctioned by any country as a terrorist country. India, which blames. And it is Canada which has come with the proofs. It is America which has come with the proofs. India is sponsoring terrorism in Canada and America. So I think you need to
I don't know where that proof is, sir, because India has been asking exactly for that proof. As opposed to the proof that India has been giving to Pakistan for years together. Dossiers after dossiers on terror acts have been shared with Pakistan.
We have also given dossiers to P5 about Indian involvement in Pakistan. And for this matter, you do understand that Afghanistan soil has been continuously used. India has been supporting the Baloch militant organizations continuously. We do understand that. Even the banned organizations like TTP are being funded by the Indian deep state.
Any proof of that, sir? Or are these allegations like what Justin Trudeau said?
I have a message. Listen, I have a message for you. This is the day to move on, because Dr. Jaishankar did ask today that I need to sit with the Pakistani foreign minister on lunch, and they had a good conversation. Pakistani media has reported, the videos have come. We welcome Dr. Jaishankar. Do not use this opportunity, this visit as an opportunity. Rather, talking about something which has been happening in the past. I think for India, the challenge is what Canada, America, United Kingdom and Australia
are asking. So what
India's
challenge is, leave it to us, no? The challenge between India and
No, you
Pakistan
are
is
our
what we are
neighbor.
discussing.
You are our neighbor. We cannot let you to lecture us, but the world is lecturing you. So I think you have actions and words need to match. Your actions are different. Your words are different. The
No,
raw
they're
has
not.
been expelled
They're
from North
not.
America.
There is proof of what Pakistan is doing.
Raw-
There is proof of terrorists fomenting trouble, not just in Jammu and Kashmir anymore, but along the border, even in Punjab. There are drugs that are coming through drones being dropped in Punjab with imprints of it coming from Pakistan. There is proof, and the world has seen it. Unlike
Madam,
what Justin Trudeau is saying, where the world hasn't seen what proof he's talking about, because they're all in the realm of allegations.
Madam, the point is, it is raw which has been expelled from North America. There is no presence of raw because of his heinous crimes, because of what has been doing in the United States and Canada. The inter-services intelligence does have a presence in the United States and Canada. We do have cordial relations. We work on counter-terrorism. If raw is helping in counter-terrorism, why it has been expelled by the Canadians and the Americans? I think the word is call spade a spade. This is the time when India's actions and words are not meeting. We listened to you for years, for decades. Nobody was listening Pakistan for decades what you are doing. Now it is the P5, it is the Americans, the British, the Australians are calling you. They have good ties. You are a member of the Quad. You are in Indo-Pacific. You hosted G20. That is perfect. But sponsoring terrorism is what the Indians are doing. This is what the Canadians and Americans are saying.
It's interesting that Pakistan believes that, but sure.
Chima is not saying this. It is the Americans and the Canadians, Australians, the British.
Sure, and all of them are saying that without proof. Like I said, all of them are talking about what Justin Trudeau said, and Justin Trudeau is not giving any proof.
Trust the Canadian Prime Minister.
But as opposed to the proof that India has given to Pakistan on multiple occasions. But anyway, Prabhu Dayal, this is standard operating procedure for Pakistan, isn't it? The first line of defense is denial. The second line of defense is playing the victim card that, oh, we too have been victims of terror, so we understand.
First of all, let me mention that I have great regard for Kamar Chima. We are friends. We have often discussed issues together on television. So I would like to clarify to him that as regards the Canada-India issue, we have not received any evidence or proof from the Canadian side, despite having requested for it a number of times. I would also like to state that Justin Trudeau is using Khalistani supporters and Sikh extremists for his domestic vote bank. It's clear-cut vote bank politics taking place. He is going to lose the election and he's desperate. He's relying on the support of Jagmeet Singh Dhaliwal's party. Jagmeet Singh Dhaliwal is an outright supporter of Khalistan, and therefore that issue is tied up to Canadian politics. Now, it is true that Canada has been saying that India is promoting certain acts and that it was responsible for the murder of Hardeep Singh Nijjar. There are certain things which the Americans have also said, but we are in discussion with the Americans. We have tried to discuss the issues with the Canadians, but without proof, they keep on making accusations. Now we come back to the issue of India-Pakistan. We have repeatedly given to Pakistan all the proof that was required in regard to the involvement of Pakistani outfits in terror activities in India. For instance, in regard to the Mumbai terror attack, we had a detailed investigation. There were confessions from the Pakistani who was arrested and who was ultimately hanged here. And we gave all the dossiers to Pakistan, but unfortunately, they have outright been a mode of outright denial. They've ignored all the evidence. So the fact is, it is very important for us to build confidence between India and Pakistan. Because if our two countries are friends, if we have a good relationship, if we can sit together and iron out differences, and if Pakistan can appease us as far as our concerns regarding terrorism go.
And our concern is one, and it has only remained that. It's a one-point demand. End your support to terror. End your support to terror, and that's it. And that's all that India wants, and we can go back to ties being normal, to trade being normal, to connectivity being normal. But it doesn't look like we're at that position just as yet. And for that, Pakistan has to do much more than India, and there are no two ways about that. Unfortunately, I'm completely out of time, but I thank you both gentlemen for joining us here on this broadcast and sharing your perspective. Slipping into a quick break on Plain Speak, but don't go anywhere because two metro cities are crumbling after heavy rains. We get you those ground reports.
Diplomatic tensions that are escalating. Now, as these tensions, diplomatic tensions continue to escalate, US State Department has now said that matter of Canada is serious and what we expect India is to cooperate with the Canada. So these are the latest inputs that we're tracking from the ground, and we're getting a reaction from the United States where it is expected out of India to cooperate with Canada on basis of these allegations. Now, remember, the diplomatic row between India and Canada has escalated following allegations from Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau that India may be involved in the assassination of a Canadian Sikh leader. Now, this accusation has led to mutual expulsion of diplomats and heightened tensions in both the countries as both the nations grapple with issues related to national security, human rights and the diaspora. So these are the latest inputs that we are tracking from the ground at this point of time. Now, joining us on the broadcast is our colleague Akanksha. A very good morning, Akanksha. How can the United States actually justify its calls for cooperation when it has not directly addressed the serious implications of Canada's allegations against India also?
A very good morning to you, Kohina, and our viewers. And that is precisely also the point that India has been making, that, our requests for extradition, the kind of various gangsters over there, many of them also branded as terrorists. Apart from that, the anti-Hindu graffiti, the kind of defacing of Hindu temples that's taking place, the defacing of the idol of Mahatma Gandhi, all of these requests which have been made by the MEA for investigation by the Canadian authorities have in fact been left unheard. Now, what Matthew Miller, the spokesperson for the US State Department, has said is that they have made a very serious note of everything that's happening as far as the downgrading of the diplomatic ties between Ottawa and New Delhi is concerned. What is very surprising and misplaced is the comment that's come in that they wanted to see the government of India cooperate with Canada and its investigation, but India has chosen an alternate path. So the US State Department often makes remarks which are off the cuff. They are misplaced and lopsided even at the moment, because remember, the Ministry of External Affairs has been very vocal about how not even a shred of evidence has been provided with Canada, and that New Delhi is very much willing to cooperate, as it is already doing so in the investigation of the alleged Pannu murder plot, who is also a US citizen. Remember, this entire news of the downgrading of diplomatic ties arrived on a day when we've seen an inquiry committee from India traveling to the United States. In fact, an official has been arrested by India in this entire plot. So we all know that action arrived soon after the US State Department spokespersons met earlier during this year, as far as Mr. Jake Sullivan and the NSA, Indian NSA, Mr. Ajit Doval is concerned. And soon after, India has been taking up this entire inquiry. But having said that, that's not been the case with Canada. India has been very vocal that Canada ought to have followed up through diplomatic channels, something they in fact did by pressurizing the Indian High Commissioner and intensively engaging the High Commissioner over the last year. They choose to now target him, not even provide him adequate security, so much so that India has had to withdraw the High Commissioner along with other diplomats in Canada. That goes on to, in fact, indicate the kind of approach that Canada has taken. The RCMP in its press conference was very scant in the evidence. They were making
Red alert for Chennai and neighbouring districts including Tiruvallur, Chengalpat and Kanchipuram because of heavy rains yesterday. Today also schools and colleges have been declared holiday in Chennai and neighbouring districts. And here in Velachery, fearing inundation, all the residents of Velachery have parked their vehicles on the flyover. Not just this flyover, the flyover there and the flyover after that. All those flyovers are now filled with rows of cars, and these are the cars belonging to residents of Velachery. Remember, every time it rains, Velachery, which is a low-lying area, is almost inundated, and yesterday we saw continuous rainfall throughout the day, and many fearing heavy rainfall today as well had parked their vehicles on these flyovers. 3 flyovers in Velachery. All these flyovers are filled with cars of residents who in fact felt that if it rains their cars will get damaged, and they parked their vehicles here. Similar scenes unfolded in places like T Nagar, which also come under the low-lying area category. A lot of residents parked their vehicles here fearing heavy rains. And for now, there's some respite for Chennaiites because so far not much rains have been recorded, especially from midnight till now. There has been no rainfall at all, at least for the last couple of hours. And this is the respite for Chennaiites because today the government had declared work from home advisory, not just for IT companies, even for the public sector. They said that people should stay indoors and work from home, and people should stay indoors. They should stay safe, and they shouldn't panic.
At L'Oréal.
Diplomatic tensions that are escalating. Now, as these diplomatic tensions continue to escalate, US State Department has now said that matter of Canada is serious, and what we expect India is to cooperate with the Canada. So these are the latest inputs that we're tracking from the ground, and we're getting a reaction from the United States, where it is expected out of India to cooperate with Canada on basis of these allegations. Now, remember, the diplomatic row between India and Canada has escalated following allegations from Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau that India may be involved in the assassination of a Canadian Sikh leader. Now, this accusation has led to mutual expulsion of diplomats and heightened tensions in both the countries as both the nations grapple with issues related to national security, human rights and the diaspora. So these are the latest inputs that we are tracking from the ground at this point of time. Now, joining us on the broadcast is our colleague Akanksha. A very good morning, Akanksha. How can the United States actually justify its calls for cooperation when it has not directly addressed the serious implications of Canada's allegations against India also?
A very good morning to you, Kohina, and our viewers. And that is precisely also the point that India has been making, that, our requests for extradition, the kind of various gangsters over there, many of them also branded as terrorists. Apart from that, the anti-Hindu graffiti, the kind of defacing of Hindu temples that's taking place, the defacing of the idol of Mahatma Gandhi, all of these requests which have been made by the MEA for investigation by the Canadian authorities have in fact been left unheard. Now, what Matthew Miller, the spokesperson for the US State Department, has said is that they have made a very serious note of everything that's happening as far as the downgrading of the diplomatic ties between Ottawa and New Delhi is concerned. What is very surprising and misplaced is the comment that's come in that they wanted to see the government of India cooperate with Canada and its investigation, but India has chosen an alternate path. So the US State Department often makes remarks which are off the cuff. They are misplaced and lopsided even at the moment, because remember, the Ministry of External Affairs has been very vocal about how not even a shred of evidence has been provided with Canada, and that New Delhi is very much willing to cooperate, as it is already doing so in the investigation of the alleged Pannu murder plot, who is also a US citizen. Remember, this entire news of the downgrading of diplomatic ties arrived on a day when we've seen an inquiry committee from India traveling to the United States. In fact, an official has been arrested by India in this entire plot. So we all know that action arrived soon after the US State Department spokespersons met earlier during this year, as far as Mr. Jake Sullivan and the NSA, Indian NSA, Mr. Ajit Doval is concerned. And soon after, India has been taking up this entire inquiry. But having said that, that's not been the case with Canada. India has been very vocal that Canada ought to have followed up through diplomatic channels, something they in fact did by pressurizing the Indian High Commissioner and intensively engaging the High Commissioner over the last year. They choose to now target him, not even provide him adequate security, so much so that India has had to withdraw the High Commissioner along with other diplomats in Canada. That goes on to, in fact, indicate the kind of approach that Canada has taken. The RCMP in its press conference was very scant in the evidence. They were making accusations, but they had no solid, concrete evidence to back those claims up. Apart from that, we've also seen there's been a lot of there's a lot of chatter in the media, but there should have been proper diplomatic back channel talks, and secret information ought to be shared through bilateral channels and not publicly as Canada is doing. So I think it is Canada's approach which ought to be questioned, not India's.
Right, Akanksha, thank you so much for bringing in all those details. Well, US is clearly prioritizing the diplomatic relations over accountability. Let's hear out what the US State Department actually had to say.
The timing of those was completely coincidental. When it comes
Namaste, Jai Hind, and welcome to this edition of The Right Stand. I'm Anand Narsimhan. Bharat and Canada's ties have hit rock bottom. On Monday, Bharat, in a strongly worded response to the Canadian government, claimed baseless targeting of the Indian High Commissioner, its diplomats and officials in Canada in connection with the investigation into Khalistani terrorist and wanted criminal and designated person of interest Hardeep Singh Nijjar's murder or killing on Canadian soil, and firmly stated that the current atmosphere of